Yes, sir. Hello. Good evening. Thursday, roughly 7 o'clock Central Time, on the 20th of August. Okay, I got a box here. It's mostly books. The original box was Joy of Cooking, 75th anniversary edition from October 2006. Went on sale on Halloween, which is a bit unusual. Must have been a Tuesday. Just in time for the holiday season. Most titles, most stores, especially Barnes & Noble, would start their holiday season. And we get everything up usually October 1st, all the displays up. And then the actual season selling would start usually the first Friday after Halloween, very early November. And then run through about middle of February with sales and all that, getting rid of stuff that didn't sell. So that's why October. Usually all books are in stores by October because everything's been finalized. Once all those books ship, the publisher office is pretty much just going to hibernation. I mean, there's some work to be done, but the month of December is usually not a whole lot. So mostly books today, graphic novels, but of the type you would, smaller size, but look like normal books. For example, How to Make Money Like a Porn Star. Neil Strauss, Bernard Chang, the team who brought you, The Game. You know, how to pick up women using names and all that. This is fictionalized, of course, but I think this is based on a lot of true stories. Bernard Chang, not exactly sure. What became, I'm trying to find a good page here that's not too, there. That gives you a good idea of his artwork. If you read The Game, nice product design, book design. You've seen the illustrations there. Very straightforward, very clean, realistic, action-oriented. And Neil Strauss, yeah. The Game, How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, Janet Jameson, The Dirt with Motley Crue, and The Long Hard Road Out of Hell with Marilyn Manson. Yeah. Bernard Chang, Valiant, Marvel, DC Comics. Black Belt Cup with Scholastic. Blue Apple. So anyway, fun little thing. I don't know what happened to this publisher. Oh, Regan, HarperCollins. Yeah, they're the ones responsible for all right-wing, ultra-conservative books. Rush Limbaugh and Company. Next, we have Neil Gaiman's The Sandman and Joseph Campbell's Search of the Modern Myth, one of those books about mythology that I like. Of course, I put a nice little library protective cover on it. I'm No Saint, a national memoir of love and loving by Elizabeth Haight. His advanced reader copy. I don't know why I kept it. I don't even know if I ever read it. So, nature in here. Here we go. There are two classics I like. From Barnes & Noble Press, back in the day. Way back in the day. 1976, I want to say. 87. Okay, still. That's back in the day before graphic novels really out. Cartoon Guide to the Constitution of the United States by Eric Lirio. Again, one of those nonfiction books explaining the Constitution. A whole bunch have come out since then. It was actually distributed through Harper Row Publishers. Barnes & Noble Books, a division of Harper Row Publishers. Very straightforward, a lot of text. More, I won't say infographics, but illustration. But it does have word balloons in it, so I count it. And it's early. Cartoon Guide to Law by Douglas Michael. And of course, there have been many other books similar to this since, as graphic novels exploded, I think. Helen Wang did one. The Astonishing Adventures of Fanboy and Goth Girl by Barry Lyga. Very, I know we're not really friends on Facebook or even on Twitter, but first of all, I love your YA fiction you do, especially the superhero stuff. But also, you don't realize it, but he's one of the people that made Free Comic Book Day the thing it is that first year. He did a lot of the press, a lot of the behind the scenes press and things. Okay, that's buried under something else. So, as I saw in the thumbnail, Diana Gabaldon, A Breath of Snow and Ashes. I was a fan of the series. I still kind of am a fan of the series. The problem is, this came, I don't know what number this is, but the problem is that, I don't say it takes her long, because these are big, these are thick books. This is, gosh, how many? Almost 1,000 pages, 980. 2005. Wonderful universe, good story, amazing storytelling. But I just gave up because by the time the next book came out, I had forgotten what happened in the previous books. I didn't really want to reread them. I didn't really remember all the stuff that had happened, so I just kind of quit. Still love it. Haven't watched the TV series, which is great, I'm sure. Fans are rightfully happy. That's Simon Fraser? Jamie Fraser, sorry. Became made flesh and blood. Here's a bargain book that I bought for $4. Originally it was $15. Called This Happened to Me, from Outdoor Life magazine. Kind of like that little biographical thing in the boy's life that the Boy Scouts did. It was like, Boy Scout saves a life. They give them a little thing. And what they did is they shrunk this down. So I don't know if this works. I think these were full-size magazine size, but I made it for a bookshelf size. So yeah, Rabbit Fox by Fred Gilliam, Athens, Texas. And basically it's just text. It's a picture with text below it. Sort of a true adventure thing, but more of how I survived. Speaking of YA superheroes, we have Zoom's Academy. This is what the book was based on. Not the movie was based on this book, which we don't realize. As I said, the inspiration for the major motion picture Zoom, because the movie, of course, is extremely different than the book. I enjoyed it for what it was. A little below Sky High, as far as, how cool it was. But it was watchable. What's his face is in it? It's Chevy Chase, who was the comedic foil. I think they actually love doing that to him. Which I got paid for. Okay, so, but again, you want to watch something good with the kids, it's free online, free on whatever. Next, we have from the University of Mississippi Press, part of their conversation series, really go and reprints notable interviews with people. We have Carl Barks Conversations. You can see about the hardcover edition. I like buying the hardcover editions, even though they're much more expensive than the paperbacks. But let's see. Of course, Donald Alt is the editor. So we've got, I don't know, does this tell you where they came from? I'd say a good 25 interviews in here. So, and they do these for variety. They do them for cartoonists, but they also do them for, they have a long one of film directors. Give it a try. University Press of Mississippi. University Press. They have a great selection of books about comics. Now here we have another nonfiction book that I like to collect from Asia Pac Books. The Yellow Emperor's Medicine Classic. Treatise on Health and Long Life. These are, and this is of the Taiwanese cartoon style. A lot of text, of course, because they're translating and adapting the, okay, here's the receipt. I bought this on June 18, 2005 from East West Books, New York City. I hope they're still there. They were over by 14th Street. about Union Square and 6th Avenue? 6th Avenue. As we go along. Ooh. Old ancient book. You can even see where it got faded from being on the sun shelf too long. But this is the Boats Railway in Putnam in Britain. And again, this is just one of those cartoon gag things. Wonderful style about railroads. 7th September 1961 to be read on a trainman's holiday as before. Pearl. Parentheses. This should afford greater insight to the labor correspondent Railroad Français, pardon my French, unless, of course, something has lost in the translation. First published 1956. Published in Great Britain by Clark, Double and Brendan Limited for the publishers Putnam and Company Limited, London. Some information on that author. So anyway, one of those little mysteries that you find. Here we have Discovering Old New York, Retro New York, Chuck Lawless. It's an ARC. It was published, it'll be published June 2000, so it's 20 years old. But I guess all the old stuff that hadn't been torn down yet. Carnegie Hall, Cabaret, Jazz Clubs of Harlem. God, I've always wanted to do that with the Zagat guides. Just do a yearly analysis and see how many restaurants listed in Zagats closed every year. What was like the average lifespan of a restaurant? Why things break, understanding the world by the way it comes apart. Nonfiction book, prose. I'm an armchair architect, so I kind of like that sort of thing. Oh, here's a great one. I don't consider him a graphic novelist, but he is. Raymond Briggs, Ethel and Ernest. This is a biography of his parents living during the war. Most people know him for The Snowman. Almost all of his picture books are graphic novels of some sort. $21 from Knopf, Random House. Gershon Legman, Love and Death. I bought this because of the essay Not for Children. He was one of the first. This is 1949. Second printing, 1963. So, wow. One of the first to critique and criticize comic books and their content. Later, Frederick Wertham took that and ran with it. Good friend, professor, Danny Fingeroth, Superman on the Couch, what superheroes really tell us about ourselves and our society. I wonder if he goes into it about supervillains. Because that's become something I've noticed, especially in cosplay. And especially with the Joker now. That people are... Because again, villains are more interesting. Actors love to play the villains because they're more interesting characters than the hero. But the way we're, I don't want to say idolizing, identifying with, is a little disturbing. Spoiled Rotten America, Larry Miller. Again, Regan Books. Stand up. We're not seeing a good guy. I think I saw him on. That was a freebie. The Aristocrats, which is really strange because he's like one of the most straight-laced, middle American dudes in comedy. Disney Presents graphic novels for younger readers, fall 2008. This is their. Oh, it's a preview. Finding Nemo and Lilo and Stitch. Disney Press. September 2006. 6x9, 48 pages, $4. What does one comic book cost nowadays? But you can get, back then, you could get a book twice the size of a comic book. There's an example. Of course, superheroes and philosophy. Truth, justice, in the Socratic way. What I remember from this, there's my Metro card bookmark, which I'm not the only New Yorker who's done that. But first thing, the image of the superhero, the real truth about Superman and the rest of us too, by Mark Waid. And you got Heroes and Superheroes by Jeff Loeb and Tom Morris. The Crimson Viper versus the Maniacal Morphine Meme by Dennis O'Neil. And Superhero Revisionism in Watchmen and the Dark Knight Returns by N.J. Scope. So, most of these people I don't recognize, I bet they're all professors or philosophers. But again, why do we read comics? Why do we like superheroes? The anthology at the end of the universe, leading science fiction authors on Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Running in here, I recognize Cory Doctorow, Wikipedia, genuine H2G2 minus the editors. We're all editors on Wikipedia. Stephen Baxter, Vox Day, before that was a dirty word. Yeah. So again, guess I'm a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide. Actually, the first book by Neil Gaiman I read was Don't Panic. I realized he was a comic book writer. So I have that issue somewhere. Oh, and here's a good history book. Gerard Jones. Man of Tomorrow, Geeks, Gangsters, and the Birth of the Comic Book. About the early history of comics. A lot of those people were in the mafia using comics to basically money launder ill-gotten gains. There are a few photos in here. Example. But again, your usual history book. Good book, though. The other side, we have Gold Digger, Gold Brick 2, Gold Brick from the long Fred Perry. This is one of those independent comic things that have been going on for years that nobody, these I think might have been arcs. I don't know. It's just strange binding. I think it's still going on. It's like Nights on the Dinner Table. It's just this indie, self-published, small press comic that has its fans. They print it every month or whatever, and it sells, and then they go away. Makes me wonder if Tarot split. Science of Superheroes. Louis Gersh, Robert Weinberg. Talks about how they would work. In the real world. Oh, bargain book at $7, originally $25. Dugan Underground, part of the trilogy, I believe, by Tom DeHaven. That is a cover by Art Spiegelman. Oh, excuse me. Kim Deitch. Dewey Dawkins, Depression Funnies. Funny Papers. What he's up to now. But this deals with underground comics. Excuse me. That history. Kevin Clear kind of really, or not, if you read Calvin Clear, you kind of understand what he's doing here. Ooh. And the cover does the art. before she became very famous. This is repurposed from a newspaper article. I think it was New York Observer did the original reporting on this. You might have done the original Dan Raviv. But anyway, that's where that illustration comes from. Comic Wars. Two tycoons battled over the Marvel Comics empire and both lost. About the bankruptcy of Marvel. Ronald Perlman with Revlon money. And then Carl Icahn, who comes in, goes to bankruptcy, and while those two are fighting it over, Toy Biz comes in and saves the day. I'll be all right. And Ike Perlmutter. This photo was not in this book. But yeah, good history of that whole period from the late 90s, early 2000s. This was published in 2001. Ooh. David B. Epileptic. Originally published by Fantagraphics. Pantheon swept it up. This is the early 2000s when literary, after Persepolis, broke open or reinvigorated literary comics, memoir market. And Pantheon relaunched their imprints, what they had on their backlist, like Mouse and Life in Hell, a few others. And got Chip Kidd as a consultant. And yeah, I think it's still going. I don't know what that I think it's Pantheon Graphics is still, if that's still a thing. But almost all the divisions, especially kids now, are really getting into graphic novels. All of them have broken the code, basically, know how to publish. It's just another thing. Even their is it Dorian Chang, I think it is, their cookbook division has done graphic novels. Good friend, fellow librarian, Jim Mathiavani. For a while, through GT Labs, he did his own gt-labs.com. Did his own nonfiction comics, mostly on science. This is about early days of fossil hunting. Bone Sharps, Cowboys, and Thunder Lizards. He would team up with cartoonists and publish comics. He did comic books. It's on Feynman, Define Science on female creators. Now he's working with Abrams, I believe, to doing biographies like Feynman. He did one on Turing, and that was on Star Trek. Brief History of the Universe. Stephen Hawking. So GT Labs is kind of, I think, I don't know if it's still in existence, but if you find their books, the books he did, early days, he did one on magic trick, the levitation magic trick, how that worked, the science behind that, the science on love with the monkey mothers, babies with mothers, one wire cage, one carpeted. Kind of controversial then because it was the science of love. Controversial now because of the way we treat the monkeys. But still an interesting story and good science. And speaking of science, the Cartoon Guide to Chemistry, Larry Gonick. We saw his history books earlier. What Larry Gonick does, he is a Harvard math graduate. Not the author. But he usually partners with an expert on the subject. And they write a book. And yeah, I consider it's, I don't know what you would call this. Text comics. Info Comics. But again, tells a story, and this one really tells a story because you start out on a here's the history of chemistry, blah blah blah, and that's the first chapter. It's somewhere in here. You start. Oh, here it is. Excuse me. I think it's here. Might even be sooner. But you start on a desert island of sorts. And by using the basics of chemistry, how you survive. Lard from pigs. You put calcium on the roofs. When the water runs down, you collect the rainwater. It's purified by the calcium carbonate. And then he goes in later into the orbitals and organic chemistry, and makes it easy to understand, or easier to understand. He's done a number of books: sex, communications, computers, which is really good if you want to have basic computers work, physics, statistics, which is very popular, algebra, calculus. Hypercatalysis came out a few years ago. That's a mind opener, mind blower. If you know anybody who's progressive or worried about, well, what they call late stage capitalism, get that book. It's just fantastic. The Cartoon History of the Universes. He's done 2 volumes, I believe, on U.S. history, and then he's done 4-ish on world history. The Cartoon History of the Universe is comics. Got a lot of fun stuff in there. He's got some good jokes. You learn stuff, a lot of stuff. And goes all the way back to the 70s. I think the first thing he did was a book on tax reform, which I read. It's online, digitized, and it still is probably pertinent. It's changed a lot. But the basics are there from the 70s when tax cuts weren't as big a thing as they became under Reagan since then. One more book, and this is the Shooting Script series. New Market Press, New Market Shooting Script series. I worked at Lincoln Center Books, Barnes & Noble, and all the giant major superstores, what do you want to call them, like Barnes & Nobles in New York City had a emphasis on something. Citibank building on 53rd specialized in business books. The Astor Place store specialized in poetry, not literature, just poetry. And of course, Lincoln Center was performing arts. I worked adjacent to that section in the fine arts and sociology, criminology, cultural studies section. But we had a very good section. One of the more popular things, I always liked the series. I hope it still exists. The New Market Shooting Script series, what they do is they take the final script of a good movie, well-known movie, and they publish these nice little, it's like Shakespeare, except it's a screenplay. And I picked this up because it's Alexander Payne. He's an Omaha native. There's a little brief thing in the back. Study guide, prepared by the screenwriters, which is kind of cool. Crafts and credits. And then, of course, the photo section in the middle from the movie. Some production photos, some movie photos. Never saw the movie. But because, Omaha native. I picked it up. A little water damage, it looks like. But anyway, so that is that. As always, got any questions? Put them in the comments. I'll answer them. I'm a librarian, by the way. I just don't want to bore you with a lot of stuff while I'm doing this. I probably am boring you with a lot of stuff while I'm doing this, but I want to get to the nitty gritty. As I said, these are books about comics, mostly some comics, but comic books about stuff. Be careful, you just might learn something before we're done. So that's what this was. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think or what you're thinking. I'm just doing this to probably because I got to do it. Got to get these books cataloged, listed. I don't know why I'm putting these back because I got to inventory them after this. So anyway, that's that for today. Hope you had a good summer, having a good summer, or having a good day, week, whatever. Hope you're reading some good comics. Hope you're sharing that love. Word of mouth, man, for us booksellers, us comic book store owners. I'm not one. Used to be an employee, furloughed employee of a comic shop. But fans of comics, share the love. I'm going to preach here, but I'm tired of people arguing over stuff. I just want you enjoy something, share it with people. Yeah, if something is really, really bad or is bad for other reasons, like just toxic, yeah, go ahead if you want, talk about that. Offer constructive criticism, especially if it's just badly done, like ballpoint pen comics is one thing. There's some people out there who can do amazing things with a ballpoint, but you understand what I'm talking about. If it's just, yeah, hopefully you can do that to them privately, like a portfolio review, where you say, hey, here's how you fix this. Here's what you did wrong or could do better. What you could do better. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Constructive criticism. Help the person become better. Otherwise, share your love, whatever it is. I don't give a it's Pokemon, Beanie Babies, comic books, French existential cinema. You enjoy it. If it gives you joy, if you're passionate about it, if you're excited about it, try to share the excitement. I mean, yeah, you can be nerdy about it and not realize that the other person is bored out of their skull. Hopefully you're good enough that you can say, hey, this is why I like it, why I think you would like it. I call myself a comics evangelist because, yeah, I want more people to read comics because I think they're great. There's something for everybody because it's a medium. Just like there's a film for just about anybody, a TV show, movie, epic poetry, probably. But what I also like to do, especially when I'm talking to people, it's basically an interview when I'm talking with some people. It's like, why do you do this? Why? I keep asking them questions. Make it about them instead of me. And then I say, oh, you like this? Have you tried that? Oh, that reminds me about this story. So I like to be a connector to that. Help the person grow. Help the person discover something they didn't know they liked before. I mean, heck, how do you know you liked chocolate ice cream before you tried it? But you tried it, you liked it. Well, the crazy idea that you could take a bean from a tree, roast it till it's almost burnt, grind it up into little tiny pieces, run hot water through it, and have it for breakfast. Right? And I admit, I'm sure that first cup of coffee you had was not that great, just like your first can of beer. That's probably because your first can of beer is probably Budweiser or a similar domestic, mass-produced bottle or can. But you don't know until you try it. And then once you do try it, which is the great thing about newspaper comics back in the day, I read those in the 70s. Hooked me on that. Wasn't that difficult to get me to read comics. And the rest is, well, yeah, you can see. So, yeah, share your love, whatever you have. try to explain it to people why you love it, why they should love it. Maybe, just maybe, you get some street cred for liking something cool before everybody else. And then maybe they'll listen to you more the next time when you say, hey, have you seen this? Have you tried this? Have you tasted this? Have you thought about that? So I'm preaching here, I know. But share what you love. Put the anger aside. I mean, yeah, it has its place, but save it for something important. Yeah, comics are important. Stuff you love is important. I understand that. If people give you grief for the stuff you enjoy, screw them. Yeah, some of those people you can't ignore all the time, relatives and such. But this is, we've had internet now for 50 years are coming up, I think. 71, 72 was the first internet connection. Usenet probably is 40 plus years old. You can go online. Facebook, Twitter. God, Facebook is full of pages and groups. You can find other people out there, your tribe, that enjoys what you enjoy. Hopefully there aren't too many people that are gatekeeping or people who will criticize what you enjoy. But the big thing in fandom is to say, okay, here's what I like. You like this. I love that you love that. And it makes you excited and you're happy. It's not my kind of thing, but I appreciate it. Here's what I like. Maybe you can find some interconnection. Anyway, my Venn diagram is multidimensional. Animation, comics, TV theme songs. If you're wondering about that, check out my playlist on the side there. There's forgotten TV lyrics. Karaoke I like to do. I love to hike. I love to explore off the beaten path. I'm an armchair architect. I love learning about buildings. Love exploring buildings, their history, behind the scenes, especially infrastructure. How cities manage the New York City subway, public transportation in general, erotica. So, yeah, each of us is multifaceted. Share what you enjoy. Share the love. Be happy. Be joyful. And I'll see you soon. This has been Torsten Adair. Thanks for watching and listening. Commenting if you can. And I hope you have a good day and a good evening. And that, yeah, you find something amazing that you didn't realize you were going to like. It's all about discovery. And hopefully you discover some things here that maybe you didn't know about that might interest you. My interests are all over the place, so chances are, yeah, there is something here. Whether it's a picture book, nonfiction comics, comic books. Hopefully you get something out of this. And you share it with others. And yeah, share this video if you can. I'm not going to ask you to like, subscribe, but all that. I know you already know that. And I'm not that big. If anybody watches this, whatever. I just like doing this. Talking about comics. And hopefully I find other people out there who enjoy what I do. So this is me signing off after 40 minutes. I'll see you soon. Good night.